And I won't stop till I got the masses and show them what they know, not through flows of hot molasses. Do it like the robot to headspin to boogaloo. Took a few minutes to convince the average bugaboo. I'm the Grizz, and this is the Barely Coherent podcast. And your host, they finally solved the problem of renewable energy, and the secret was in his beard. Snowy B, aka Daniel Borden.
Hi.
Who's your co-host? Oh, okay.
Gabrielle Delacour. Yeah.
So our first
Mascot.
guest.
Yeah, our first guest.
Our first guest on the podcast is Gabby. She's adorable.
Mm-hmm. She's adorable. She's a little raptor sometimes though, because she chews on everything. But besides the chew, she's really sweet.
She has the face of a chewer, honestly.
She does. Look at it.
She looks totally unamused.
And
she loves it here.
And he once picked an apple off an orange tree and made lemonade with it. Sonny B, Billy Weisinger.
And I will never give you the secret to how I transmuted that. So, live with that.
All right, guys.
What is going on with your fucking face, dude?
I don't know.
Stop fucking with it.
I don't know.
Just leave it.
I need a comb.
Just leave it. Leave it. It's fine. You look good.
So we're back from the holidays. Our first episode back.
Yes, it's only we took a month off. For those who are counting.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was pretty great. Did you guys do anything special for the holidays?
I traveled back to Washington State
to
visit my family, which is always...
Don't give them your address, though. People will stalk you.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, it's pretty enjoyable every time we go back. So, what about you, Danny? Did you do anything special for the holidays?
Nah, man, I'm on the whole year of the grind, 2023 hashtag. So basically,
secure the bag.
Yeah, so I was already already going into the holidays. I was already my mindset because I was like, I'm preparing myself. So I pretty much just spend any money. I'm already for the holidays, and I know some people like got to go big, before you go into your like New Year's resolutions. But I was like unintentionally like mindset had already set in. So I basically there, watch some Christmas movies, and that was it.
Okay. Thrilling.
You? What about you, buddy?
I didn't do anything for Christmas. Okay, that's not true. I had people over for Christmas.
Okay.
The joys of being 30. We exchanged gifts, and then people went home at like 9, which was perfect. But then I went to Indy for New Year's, which was nice. Spend time with family,
Did you see Kaylin?
Gifts. I did see Kaylin, for those who are wondering, and Kaylin himself, who is listening. Kaylin is my best friend from high school, and I got to spend his birthday with him, so that was nice.
Oh, that's cute.
Well, thanks. We're a cute couple, honestly. So,
dude, I debated hitting Kaylin up this last few weeks, just about being like, bro, I know you make some good money doing those sales.
Oh my goodness, dude! You don't want to fucking work in sales. You don't want that life. I give it. I mean, I'm not saying that you're not capable, because we all know that you are, and that's not the question. I think that you would probably get a month in, and you'd be like, "This is fucking dumb. These people are dumb. I'm tired of talking to dumb people. I don't want to do this anymore." So
yeah, but the money but the
money is very good.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the military for 10 years, and I dealt with dumb people every day, and they get paid nearly that good. So I'm like,
you
potato, buddy.
It only took you 10 years to leave, though. So
yeah, only 10. Some of us longer.
Well, yeah. I got 11.
What's wild about that?
You're going to 20.
I'm definitely not.
Oh.
Put that evil on me, Rick.
I thought you were doing 20. Okay.
No, dude.
No.
He's on his way out.
I
His
am.
dumbass signed a fucking extension.
They
or,
promised me San Diego orders, and that did
yeah.
not happen.
Well, so your first mistake was trusting the government.
Yeah. No, especially this last time. Once I finally made it home, because like everybody else during the holidays, I had issues with flights.
Oh yeah.
But once I
Were you on
finally made it home,
Southwest?
absolutely not.
Jesus.
No,
Okay, so
God, no.
just so we're clear, Southwest was struggling before the winter storm hit, and so if you're mad
Were
that
they?
your Southwest flight got canceled, that was poor planning on your part. Yeah, they were like they
haven't updated their computer system in over a decade.
They were like getting ready to file bankruptcy.
Yeah, they're getting ready to file bankruptcy. They got like a $7 billion bailout or
They
something.
got a
like
bailout
that.
again.
But they
too
hadn't
big to
updated
fail,
their
right?
computer systems in like a decade. So a bunch of flights did get canceled because of the weather, like everybody else. And then their computer system crashed. So they had no idea where any of their flight crews are.
Yeah, no, it's the storm. It's definitely the storm.
So
I flew Delta, and it got canceled twice because of the weather. So I got home the day after Christmas, which isn't ideal. I did, however, get upgraded to first class.
That's
which
a win.
was quite the experience because I had never flown first class before. So when they came up to me and asked if I would like,
go back.
Yeah, if I would like a pre-departure drink beverage, and my poor ass asked me how much that was.
She laughed at you.
Yeah, she laughed at me, and it was free. So it was definitely.
She like took a sniff. She's like, smells like pour up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, can I see your ticket?
Yeah. So you're like, it's my first time.
Yeah. So I got quite the pre-flight buzz going before we took off.
I don't know. The closest I ever got to first class was a Nalo. On one of the big like C40s where they're like, yeah, you guys can have all the alcohol you want because you're going on deployment.
When you made the pillow monster.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Wait, man, what?
I made a they give you like these little airplane pillows. They're like, I don't know, they're like that big. So I strapped like 9 of them together and made this enormous pillow. And I tied it all in a blanket. There's actually a picture of me with it somewhere. We'll post it on the Instagram if I can find it. But the pillow monster will be seen again.
So we had our little jaunt to Iceland.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I actually had an opportunity to fly first class international.
Ooh.
Oh,
First class international.
That's the big leagues, dude.
Yeah.
So I paid for it, but I had a NALO. I had NALO orders to go teach a class in Bahrain. Okay, and so they paid for the seating, right? And then I just looked it up because it was during COVID. There wasn't a whole lot of flights going on, and there's the plane was basically empty. So I looked it up, and to upgrade to it was like $950. So I was like, I never flown first class to fly first class international.
$950
one way, yeah.
Oh no, that's so pricey.
It's not. Look up right now.
It's not
right now. Yeah, look up right
now.
Yeah,
okay. Yes, relatively.
In 2018, I was trying to fly when I went to Australia to visit family. I was like, oh, let me check out the first class seats.
Was
$15,000.
Yeah.
I just typed in New Orleans to Bahrain, right now. On American, it's $1,000, right? Just a regular straight up flight, right? So, and I'm like, let's do. Hold on, how do I do this? Because I'm on Google right now. How do I do the whole first class thing?
It should give you an option to like see like economy plus. I think it's at the top usually.
Separate tickets, no. Okay. Well, give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna go to.
Anyway, finish your story.
So I'll look this up while you guys are talking. So the all right. So I paid for it, and you're sitting up in front, first class. But basically, like you get your own little area. Like you
Oh
step
yeah,
in,
international
and
first class. It's like a pod.
it's like a pod, right? Because so what were
Yeah.
the 2 seats would be, the aisle seat would be,
Mm-hmm.
and you're there's all these options, and then there's a TV directly in front of you, and then your chair lays flat, right? So you could lean back as far as you want to and bring the TV out and move it around, and somebody comes along all the time as high-end alcohol, nice full on meal, knife and fork, silverware meals, and I got to sleep, in my bed, and I woke up in my little area, with comfortable pillows, and
There were people dying in economy while you were doing this, so
I loved it so much that I was like, I have to do this again. I got to go find the price now, whatever it is, but it is wildly expensive now.
Yeah.
To upgrade, if it's $1,000 away, it's probably $7,000, first class. It's crazy. Yeah.
That's how much it was for me to upgrade to first class on my flight back, because I didn't get free first class on my flight back because that one didn't get canceled.
Mhm.
It was going to be $1,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm good, homie, because it was $40 to upgrade to Comfort Plus.
Comfort Plus is where it's at, dude.
Yeah,
Comfort Plus, dude.
Why?
I had the
what
whole
makes
row
me-
to
what makes it
myself
weird is why is there not a plane of just
because they probably wouldn't be able to sell enough seats
You wouldn't sell seats for it.
to justify
think so?
Most of those
the
people, I
fuel
think
costs
that
and everything.
majority of the people in first class are not even there because they pay for it. It's because either their company is paying for it, or they have the miles to cover it, or they have points from whatever credit card they use. I mean, if you think about it, paying for first class is one of the dumbest things ever. I mean, you're literally saying, I'm going to the same place as everyone else. The only difference is that my drinks will be paid for ahead of time, and I'll have more leg room, which I can get more leg room in Economy Plus, But I don't know, man. I want to fly first class all the time, I would love to. I'd love to fly first class everywhere. But
my idea
from
was
a monetary standpoint, it doesn't make sense. For broke people,
probably, I guess not.
Because I'm
but
broke. I'm a broke person.
My thought is if
It's
they
me.
just basically had less seating, right? But they had people made up the difference. Why could you not do that instead of having
Well,
one
it's
seat
called
that's
Spirit Air. That's what Spirit
No, no,
is.
no.
Except they do it in the reverse that you're talking about.
Yeah. Also what's interesting too is why are so many airlines struggling? What?
Because it costs so much. Oh man.
Fucking busy. They have a business model that people want to use. So why are they always fucking struggling? I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
I think that
I think a lot of it goes to
flying
corporate buyouts and stuff like that.
Super high. The cost to operate is high. I mean,
Yeah.
As an airline, you got to pay your ground handlers, you got to pay your pilots, you got to pay your flight attendants, you have to pay to rent the space in the airport where your planes fly out of, and then on top of that, you have upkeep and rework for everything that you do. I mean, your planes have to be up to a certain code, and then eventually planes that are maybe totally okay have to be retired because they're a certain age, so you got to buy new planes. I imagine owning an airline is stupid expensive. So
I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is if I go to the airport and there is in every fucking terminal a massive day of the week, you clearly don't have a lack of customers. Why not just raise your prices? So now I know people who are listening dude, I don't want to pay more money, but I'm if these businesses are you're paying for it one way or another.
I think business wise, and I'm sure you both know this, the whole point is growth, right? You're trying to grow, get more of a presence in different places. And so I think a lot of companies operate off of much smaller profit margin than they probably should be. So the minute there's a downturn due to something like a pandemic, it crushes them because they're relying on all that holiday travel and stuff like that to kind of pay the bills, so then they can grow, so they can get more investors, so that their stock price can go up, so their CEO can get a bigger, multi-million dollar bonus the next year, right?
Yeah.
So the minute you have an event come up where nobody's traveling anymore, most of the airlines didn't have the cash in the bank to prepare themselves for that, because their whole focus up until the pandemic, all these major airlines were growing. They were building more and more hubs in these other cities, doing all these flights to smaller and smaller towns so that they could show growth to their investors. And then I think a lot of them were operating with very little profit or in the red, but under the expectation that, well, we'll get it back. And then they didn't. And it hurt
I
a
don't
lot.
know, man.
And then I think the whole thing with the Max 8, every major airline except Delta bought the Max 8, and then the Max 8 was grounded. So they had spent millions upon millions of dollars, possibly billions, on this new aircraft that they couldn't fly.
That was a big part of their loss.
I think there's this there's this
debacle.
huge chain reaction of the Max 8 debacle and the pandemic that really severely bit into their profits. And then, other airlines were probably prepared better for it than others. Like I said, Delta didn't buy the Max 8. They bought the new Airbus that came out. American Airlines, they were in the process of merging with United when all that happened.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, if you read a lot what's happening in the airline industry right now, they're closing a lot of their hubs and forcing a lot of their flight attendants and pilots to move to different cities, because they know, because a lot of what they do, right, is they'll base their crew in certain cities and pretty much pay them to live there.
Like,
right?
Delta, a big hub for Delta is Atlanta. For those who don't know.
Atlanta and Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So they were starting to build out more and more hubs, and then all this stuff happened, and they actually started to close a lot of those hubs. And then it just sounds like poor business planning. Like United found out that they actually
do that a lot.
had a huge wing in New Jersey, like a bunch of terminals that they were renting that they forgot they had, so they weren't sending planes to that terminal. Like the terminal was just being unused, but they were paying the bill for it.
Classic.
Just too big. Just too
classic
big.
business.
Yeah, they're just, a lot of them were starting to get too big.
Well, I imagine lawsuits are definitely a thing. I mean, for any major business, lawsuits seem to be
Southwest
a huge draw.
under the potential of being investigated, because, like I said, they got a huge bailout from the U.S. government, and then all this stuff happened. It came down that it wasn't for them, just the weather. Their whole systems failed, and when they started to look at it, their systems hadn't been updated, and I want to say it was like 10 years or more.
Yeah. So what have you been doing with the money that you've been
CEO
making?
had gotten like a $5 million bonus or something like that. So then the question becomes, what did you do with the bailout money? Which,
Well, that's, I mean, like,
I also heard
that's a big thing, right? Is like, where is the money going? For any business, it should be, especially a business such as an airline, it should be fairly transparent where that money is going.
Yeah.
I agree.
Especially when you're having to get like a bailout. Like, I think that was a big thing that we learned with these bailouts. I don't know the laws like at that level, honestly, but it seems not really. I'm not surprised, but it seems weird to me that when you would hand over these bailouts, you're not also asking for like if we're giving you this absurd amount of money to not fail, you have to tell us exactly where this money is going.
Yeah, there should be like an audit involved with a bailout of that magnitude.
With the pace and the way our current government works, I'm also not surprised that didn't happen.
Did we elect a new Speaker of the House yet?
No, that they just had their 11th vote, and we still don't have a Speaker of the House.
Oh boy,
there's some interesting things that might come.
Love the government. We should do a whole episode on just like the basics of like U.S. government and like how it works, how it's supposed to work, and then how it actually works.
What was that animated show called? I'll go watch Schoolhouse Rock.
Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah.
I'm just a bill.
I'm just a
Capitol
bill. So I looked up actually how much money the airlines lost. All
Hmm.
right, get this. So in
I think this is gonna make
2019,
me angry, so I'm excited.
so this is 2019 they were profitable. They made in 2019 a profit of 26 billion. Right, so it's a very lucrative business to be in.
26 billion, like billion with a B.
A Billy boy. Yeah. And then in 2020 they lost 137 billion
That's
in
excuse
2020
me.
alone.
What? How do you lose? How do you lose over $100 billion? That's
I'm saying, like, I am.
In 20
Go ahead.
in 2020 in 2 billion. So less of a loss. Clearly people
Wait,
are
can you say
flying
that again?
again. Yeah, so in 2021 the airlines lost 42 billion.
42 billion.
So
You know
now
what I
we're
could
up
do with
to,
$42
if we're
billion?
doing some math right now, in 2 years the airlines have lost 179 billion. In
And so this
2022
is
they
all
started to
airlines, like airlines in general, right?
American, yeah, I mean American,
American Airlines.
US, United States
Yeah.
Airlines, yes.
Not American
Um,
Airlines. They suck anyway.
yeah,
But like
they do
the
suck. I
American
hate them.
airline companies, yes, they're not worse than United though. So
I think they're probably about the same.
I
but
think I don't know what happened with United like a couple years ago. Like didn't that shit? I'd have to look it up. There was like someone got dragged off a United flight, and like there was a bunch of controversy
Yeah, it was a
surrounding.
doctor.
oh,
Yeah.
it was a doctor.
Oh, he was
the
doing.
lady,
Was
right?
it?
No, was it
No. It was the guy of Arab descent who was like doing math, or like he was like doing something like math related, and the person next to him said that made them uncomfortable, and they ended up like taking him off the flight or something. I don't know. Don't quote me. I would have to look it up. We'll look it up, but yeah, I think it was something along those lines. Per se, we need a person. We need a behind the scenes person to look up
Yeah.
things as I'm saying them, because I say a lot of shit that may or may not be true. So,
I was talking to some people about flying back in the day, back when they were a kid,
mhm.
and they were saying like, and this has been talked about by the older generation ad nauseum now, but when they describe it, flying sounded like amazing back in the day.
Oh, it's different.
They
Well,
said you could just walk. Everyone was dressed like all nice, like you weren't like wearing like comfortable clothes. You were wearing like, we're going flying. Like it's a big,
yeah.
like
Well,
it was like a fancy to do. I guess it sounded nice.
you got to think like it's very interesting, like the shift in economics in this country. Once at some point, probably something that an economist can pinpoint. Industry turned into something that was more like monetary gain based versus product based, right? Or like a quality of product, right? So if you look at old, and I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but if you look at old photos of flights, everyone is dressed up, everyone's smiling, people are smoking, people are having full meals, and that's everyone on the flight. And then at some point, someone who was in charge of, like deciding, an airline company's fate was like, maybe we should have people who don't get those things, and we'll charge them less, but we'll make it so that it's more desirable to be in first class, right? And then you can charge people more for that.
Let me throw a
So,
theory at you.
Okay.
I have that article up whenever you guys are ready.
Ooh, the one I was talking about with United.
Okay.
Hold on,
So
let's
is
hear
it-
his theory first. Hold on, let's hear his
Yeah,
theory.
I want to hear that too.
Okay. So
Okay.
so the airline, I think the time we're talking about like really is like the 50s and 60s, right?
Right, like the
The
beginning
50s
of
and
airline flight,
60s.
commercial airline flight.
Well, also I have to go look this up. Like I feel like the middle class per earning, like how far, or I guess like how far their
Mm,
dollar can go. like than it is now. So the sides of the middle class that could afford those nice full meals and like everything else,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if just they're like, yeah, I can afford to do more with less money because like I don't know, inflation or just the size of the well, not inflation really per se. I'm trying to say is like maybe the middle class itself was more, and because of that, they could do things like in a larger scale, right? So because and instead of just having like a small group of people that could afford business class and the rest of us peons are scraping together money to go on there's more people that can do it. So they could offer nicer stuff because they knew people would pay for it. I don't know. The 50s and 60s were a good time for Americans, white Americans specifically. But you know,
I'm glad you corrected
yeah.
yourself because you know I was coming for you.
Yeah.
My mother listens to this podcast, and she would definitely not agree with the 50s and 60s being great for all Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I think
I
you
was
would have
born
to
in the
just
wrong time. That'd have been my heyday.
I think if you're gonna
Concerning.
have like all first class seats, you would have to charge considerably more for them. Because like you typically have 4 rows of first class, which is 2 seats, or which is 4 seats total. So that's 16. Say they're $1,000, right? That's only $1,600 that $16,000 that you're making in profits. You'll typically have 20 rows of economy, so which is 6.
Okay.
So that's 60, and those seats typically would be around like $400. That's 48,000 that you make just off the economy seats alone.
So the bulk of what they're making is economy seating, which makes
Yeah.
sense why Spirit Airlines was like, everyone's economy seating now, and we're gonna charge you guys $42 to fly from Orlando to fucking Atlanta, but also it's gonna fucking suck. So good luck.
So to get back to this article,
Yes,
because
tell
it
me
actually
what's
makes me
going on.
even angrier now that I'm remembering the situation. So there's a Vietnamese American doctor, and this is something that typically happens. I saw it when I was flying home, not people getting dragged off, but the situation where they overbooked a flight, which is something that they'll typically do. And then they'll offer you vouchers to like give up your seat, right? Which I consider doing once I got the voucher was $300 more than my ticket, but a family of 4 beat me to it. Anyway, so what happened here was the same thing. This dude was already in his seat, right? Paid for his seat, was in it, needed to get home because he's a doctor and he had like a surgery or something that he had to do. And United had overbooked the flight, and they had 4 of their crew members that needed to get on this flight to fly. I think it says to Virginia, or the flight in Virginia would the next day would end up getting canceled. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and mute him. All right, he's muted. And so what ended up? Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm listening.
So they came on and they said, "Hey, we need volunteers so these crew members can get on this flight and fly somewhere else." Right? Mind you, they'd already paid for a seat, had a seat assigned, was in it. And they went up to him and they said, "Hey, you need to give up your seat." He's like, "I didn't volunteer. I have to be back home. For work. I'm a fucking doctor. It's not like I got to be home to do spreadsheets, right?"
Okay, right. That
And
makes sense.
what ended up happening is they were pretty much told him like, "No, you're getting off this flight so our crew members can have the seat." He said no, and then they dragged him off the flight.
I do remember that, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. So it wasn't even a problem. They tried to blame it on him, right? And then
Hello.
yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you.
So they tried to blame it on him. And then or pretty much like, well, he was being disruptive, blah, 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 blah. But then it came out, because there's video, that no, American or United, because of poor planning, ended up
tried to kick him off
this
the flight.
situation on their own and trying to boot paid customers off the flight because they could not plan properly.
It's shitty, man. Shitty. That's why I don't fly United.
So
I only fly Delta.
Yeah, I fly Delta.
They're bougie, but I like it
They
because I
have,
am also a big-
as far as all the airlines that I've ever had to deal with, they have the best customer service.
They really do, honestly. I mean, it's like it's like AT&T. People are like, oh, I don't like AT&T because their service is not great, or their plans are not the best. And I've had AT&T since it was singular cellular back in like 2004. And the only reason I've stayed with AT&T is because anytime I called them with an issue, they were extremely helpful, and that matters to me. It might not matter to some people, but it matters to me. So I keep AT&T.
I think it matters to most people. I mean, you look at the. Can you guys hear me? By the way.
Yep,
Yeah, we can hear you now.
We can hear you.
All right. I had to go back to the old mic. Anyways,
Technical
so
difficulties. It's okay. You still sound good.
cool. I might piss off some people with this.
Oh boy, this is my favorite.
I call it the Chick-fil-A effect.
Oh Jesus!
I think Chick-fil-A is fucking mid. It's straight mid.
Okay, no, I'd buy that. I'll buy that for sure.
But the customer service is
top notch, baby. They might hate the gays, but they're so nice to everyone else.
I know, right? That they make up for it that way. Yeah, they go.
I think it's kind of the same way for In-N-Out for us Californians.
I'm not buying that.
I love it.
I'm not buying that.
Not quite as good customer service, but
the In-N-Out is good, and I will say that. I want to go on the record as saying that In-N-Out is
it's nostalgia. That's why we think it's the best. It's nostalgia.
But like if someone joins a conversation, they're like, "Yeah, man, my favorite burger place is In-N-Out," I immediately discount any opinion they have after that, because there are literally dozens of burger places that are better. In-N-Out is the equivalent of Steak and Shake, except with the secret menu.
Steak and Shake does sound good.
God, Steak and Shake does sound good.
I haven't eaten today, so I'm all about.
I had half a Cuban sandwich and some salad, and a donut. I had a donut.
Yeah.
So things are going well.
He just keeps going. He's like, that's all I had today.
That's all I've eaten. No, that's it. I swear. I'm like I'm 2 whiskey glasses in now, so there's that. Not whiskey.
I didn't know you were drinking.
Oh, we're always drinking.
Yeah.
Always.
Are you drinking right now, Christian?
I am not, because I got home and didn't have time. I immediately turned on my computer.
See, he's a responsible adult.
Should we let Billy monologue while we go make a drink, or
I can monologue. I can hold it down for a few minutes if you guys want to go.
Why don't you give people a little inspirational monologue while we go get ourselves some drinks?
I'm curious to see what we come back into.
Yeah. Well, you're not gonna know until you listen to the podcast later. All right, now that they're fucking gone because they're unprepared, I just like to say thanks for coming to listen to our podcast. It seems silly when someone says, "Hey, I'm going to start a podcast," and I've heard it all. I've heard, "Oh, what do you guys talk about? What's the point? How is your podcast different from anyone else?" And it doesn't fucking matter. You know why? Because I enjoy hanging out with the bros, talking about ridiculous shit like fucking airline politics, and you guys can either choose to listen or not to listen, and that's A-O-fucking-K. Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for you. I'm not doing this for anybody else. I'm doing this because I enjoy talking about shit with other people. And so with that said, if you would like to be involved in the conversation, please join our Discord. Follow us on Instagram. I think at some point we're going to have a TikTok. So get ready to follow us on social media. We're not looking for your money. We just want to hang out with you. And that's it. And it looks like the Grizz is back. So I'm done with my monologue. Thank you and good night.
That was beautiful, really. I didn't hear
Thank
a
you.
goddamn word.
I know. And
I did pour myself a healthy glass and brought the bottle with me. So.
Oh, same. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking my favorite whiskey, which is made by Compass Box, and it is called Hedonism. It's rich, it's vanilla, and it's alluring.
Is everything a podcast intro with you? Because that was perfect.
It's my calling, man. I might start offering my services.
Well, I'm drinking my favorite scotch at the moment, which is, I don't know if it's not gonna. There it is. This is unpaid advertisement for Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve. It is a scotch that is finished in rum barrels, and I'm not gonna lie to you, podcast family, I could drink a bottle of this on my own. It's smooth, it's sweet, it's got the perfect finish at the end of every sip. I mean, top fucking notch. Okay.
I think I had that the last time I was there at your.
I have
your
no
house.
doubt because I keep a bottle on hand.
And it is
Yeah.
quite delicious.
Yeah, we
So
killed a bottle last time I was there. You had the
Did
same
you?
thing?
Did we really? I don't know. We drank. I don't drink by
I think
myself very
I
often.
killed that bottle, actually.
No. I was definitely involved. It's okay.
Oh no! I mean, like you were like, "Hey, I got this bottle of really good rum," and I was like, or whiskey,
Scotch.
Scotch,
Whiskey scotch.
Scotch, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then you left it there, and I was like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you."
Got to take care of the bottle, baby. Got to take
Yeah.
care of the bottle.
Exactly.
You know what's funny about scotch is, and probably the same thing with rum and tequila. It's a very like it's a deep hole you can like fall into in terms of just knowledge. And so I'm gonna segue this into our next topic. My dad never really taught me a whole lot of stuff, so I've had to learn things on my own. And like some people get their drinking not habits, but like ideas from their parents. You look what's in your parents' cabinet, and you're like, oh, I like that, or I like the sound of that, and I just never really had that. And I kind of wish that I could share a drink with my dad. He doesn't drink anymore. He's not dead, just so we're clear. He doesn't drink anymore. He doesn't drink anymore. But that's just one of the many things that I kind of wish I had learned at some point from my dad.
Yeah.
And I hope to someday pass on to my son in a very benign way.
Wait, are you having a boy?
I'm having a boy, dude. So for the rest of the podcast family, I'm having a boy.
The new official dadest dad of the podcast, since he's going to actually be a dad.
I am. I wear high water pants and K-Swiss and
I've seen this with my own eyes. Cargo shorts.
Okay, first
what
of all,
cargo do you have in there? Tell me right now.
Cargo shorts are a very, very useful clothing garment. Okay.
There's so many pockets.
There's so many pockets.
Fanny pack of the shorts world.
I actually also wear fanny packs, so go fuck yourself.
I'm saying that when it comes to fashion, people don't consider that high fashion, but when it comes to utility, top notch.
Fannies are in right now, though. Fannies are in.
Oh, are they? Dude,
yeah.
They'll have a run.
Oh, you know what? It's my dad. That's one thing my dad taught me.
Fanny pack company. That would be fucking easy to do.
Can we put a pin in that? I feel like that's.
Dude,
we could start a fanny pack company.
Okay. Look,
okay.
I think that everything has like the right. There could be a moment where fanny packs are just the coolest thing for one summer, and that might be the summer where we already have a fanny pack company, and we just have all these cool designs.
If we were to make a fanny pack, right? So you know how they have like the hoodies that have the little like drink holder integrated into its pouch.
Yeah, yes, I did.
So I've seen the fanny packs,
of course,
where they have it like off to the side. But I think it'd be cool if you could make a fanny pack that a part of the actual pack, like pouch portion, had the drink holder. I think that would kill.
I mean, at a festival.
Yeah.
Fucking gross, dude.
You could
Fucking
carry
killing
your
it.
kid. You could be out, with your kid, your little fanny pack, your beverage, and then you need your second hand, just bloop right into the fanny pack.
Okay, so it's funny you should say that. There is a woman
That is a good idea.
whose name I can't remember. Also, I can't remember the name of her fucking product. But it's like a fanny pack, but it's rigid material, like in the pack part. So you can set a child on it, like instead of like holding them up, they can sit basically like on your waist.
Nice.
I'm not gonna lie to you, like 6 months ago, that shit didn't matter to me, but like now I'm like, I'm gonna maybe need one of those
It's
because
amazing how a life-changing event.
for the VA representative that is probably stalking me, I have really bad shoulders, so yes, it hurts.
It hurted.
It hurted.
Was the
but-
topic things our
Things we
dads-
didn't learn. Yeah, things not necessarily dads. The only reason I framed it that way is really because like something that comes up very frequently in my life is putting toe straps on things. Don't know why, whatever. But my dad never really taught me how to use toe straps, so I didn't. When I used them for the first time, I had no idea what the fuck. And my dad taught me a lot of things, which is great. And I'm by no means am I shorting him on the knowledge that he passed along. But fucking toe straps, a little confusing the first time you use them. So, I wish I had learned a little bit more about toe straps, before it became relevant for me as an adult. So that's just like one of the things that I wish that I had learned at some point when I was young in life.
My dad didn't teach me how to deal with emotions, but
I
he
can
taught
see that.
me about toe straps and knots,
Trade-offs.
and welding, and gold panning, and fishing, and
Gold
camping.
panning? Yeah, but he
Yeah.
didn't take you to do any of those things.
No, we did those things when I was really young. It just when my parents got divorced, he just basically kept buying all the things and never took me.
I know. When are we going to raid your dad's house? Because, I know he doesn't listen to the podcast. So, Danny, we're coming for your house.
Yeah.
Daniel, the second? Daniel,
Dude,
he's the second, right?
So my grandpa, yeah, he's a third. My
He's a third.
grandpa's still alive, and he's like 96.
Your grandpa is still alive?
Dude, walking around, dude. Like
Nuh-uh.
he's like
Good
6.
for you.
It's a big 6'4" Portuguese dude, man. Just
Portuguese? I thought you were British.
He
Or English, whatever. From the Isle of
my grandma immigrated here from England or Scotland.
Mhm.
Scotland. And then my grandpa on my mom's side came, like they're fucking British or some shit, and then all that. Yeah.
Genealogy. So fascinating. Topic for another time.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think I didn't get a really good conversation how to deal with like community talking about
Like being a person.
the things inside here, but I know how to do like work with tools, like
Yeah.
I took kung fu for like years. I did judo for years.
What? Really?
Mhm.
I did not know that. We've been friends. How long have we been friends?
Dude, so let me tell you all the things my dad's put me in. So he put me in
That's
6 years,
crazy.
6 years of soccer,
Okay.
7 years of baseball,
Okay.
3 years of martial arts.
Okay.
I was in the Boy Scouts for like 5 years. I did a basketball summer camp. We went camping a bunch, and then like around like 12, 13, all that just ended. So it was a very abrupt, jarring segue.
Sucks, dude. God,
Dude.
I mean, so I didn't do a lot of things because money was kind of always an issue for us.
That's what happened with me. Because my mom, as you know, you've seen her play. She's a good earner, but when she dipped out, no mas dinero.
I would just like to say that Snowy Bee's mom is probably one of the best people that I've ever met
Super nice
in my
person.
entire life. And I think that my mom is the best person in the world.
Yeah,
so
mom's great.
it's saying
Mom's
a lot.
really nice.
That I think that.
Yeah, our moms are very similar. Our moms are very.
What happened to us?
Our dads. I think our dads should have done a better job rounding us out. If they would have like rounded us out more, I think we'd have been better. We should go and kick our dads.
We should have a talk.
Yeah, we should.
I mean,
What about you, Grizz? Like, what is it that you wish that you had learned?
so I
You know.
want to start this off with that. I love my dad.
Your dad's
He
awesome. I
is
like your
the
dad too.
best person that I know, and all the good attributes that I have as a human being are because of him. Uh,
Kudos to Greg, bro.
yeah.
Kudos.
Well done, Greg.
That being said, it's kind of along the same vein, and I don't blame him, but I did not learn how to operate as a human being emotionally.
Ooh,
So a lot
that's
of
so
the
interesting to me.
a lot of the negatives that I have as a person are for the same reasons. And like I said, he's the best person I know. I love him. He's a very caring.
He's a great dude. He puts other
Yeah,
people first, probably when he shouldn't. So
yeah. But much like myself, he tends to keep everything locked inside.
mm,
And so over time, especially as a young kid growing up, when it was just us, me and my brother and him, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to emotionally express because I never really saw that from him. Other
that's
than
so fascinating, man.
yeah,
Dude, yeah, I can relate. My dad was anti-vulnerable. Like, if there's
Really?
anything,
He was just like no tears, no
well,
feelings, no nothing.
well, it was like he wouldn't allow. No, it wasn't. It's like if you showed it, he would just be like, "I'm gonna fucking win this argument, despite how bad you feel or how mad you are." He's like, "I'm just gonna fucking hold the ground and just
So
fucking stubbornly forge ahead and shit on you until he wins his point." And so that's
because
the
like
lesson I got, right? Which is like,
yeah,
don't regard other people's feelings. Like, don't be vulnerable because then they can take advantage of it.
well,
Wasn't
that's
until
a
becoming an
common
adult.
theme with arguments,
yeah,
right? Because like
Yeah.
people feel like if you are emotional about an argument or a point that you're wrong because you're coming at it from an emotional point of view, and um, that's not entirely true because you can feel very strongly about a point and still make a very valid argument about something. And so,
Yeah.
I
but
think
like as soon as someone sprinkles in like feelings or like emotions about an argument, is very oftentimes people just discount whatever they're saying.
yeah, I think
It
in my case it was more stoicism than anything else.
just like quietly dealing with everything.
Yeah, I think it was just him quietly trying to deal with his life and being a single parent and
Hmm.
stuff like that. He didn't want to show, uh, you know,
Shit's hard.
emotion because shit's hard, And if you show emotion to somebody else, then maybe you can't get it back under control.
Or they may take advantage of you
Yeah.
being emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So,
I can relate.
and
Like
I
my
think
dad.
that's a problem with a lot of single parents.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so my dad, my mom, she wasn't really into my life until I was an adult, because she worked, and then when they got divorced, she kind of did her own thing. So I didn't get a chance to really know my mom until I was like 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. Before that, we were kind of just like, you're cool, I guess, from a distance, but we didn't really get each other. So
Right.
my dad
So you
was kind
spent
of the
most of
one.
your time with your dad.
Right, right. So I got that. So I got a lot of bad examples, I guess, because my dad was really bad at dealing with his stuff. Because my grandpa is a. I mean, I don't care if he hears this. If he's old, he was a fucking awful dad
Hmm.
to
To your dad.
to most of the boys. He was really like he was super abusive. Like he just beat the shit out of them. So I think my dad just never fully. He didn't grow and form into the person he could have been. And of course, there's now generational pass on to that. And it took me a really long time to realize it's okay to say like, "Hey, I'm sad," and this hurts my feelings when you say
Or
those
this
things
is
without
upsetting. Yeah.
getting aggressive. I get to say like, "My feelings are hurt because of the thing that you said to me, and I want you to know how that feels so that you could respond," as opposed to
I
being
think
like, "What the fuck did you say to me?" instead of doing like that.
I think we've tested that boundary a couple times
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, we're still
Well,
friends and
it
it's
feels good.
important.
It feels good to win, but I always lose the war. I always later feel bad. In the moment, I'm just
Yeah.
like, "That's fucking right."
Well, like,
But later, I'm like,
and that's an important thing for a lot of young people to understand that being right oftentimes feels good in the moment, but
yeah,
uh it seems so cliche and like I don't want to sound like your parents, but at what cost were you right? You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then,
it's so easy to
keep that
say
in
like, "I'm
keep that in,
sorry." Just say, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying. I apologize for any
yeah.
feelings." And going forward.
And we can have a conversation about something like once everyone is calmed down. If you would like
Yeah.
to like talk about it more, or express why you felt the way you felt. But winning an argument is definitely not always the most important part of an argument. So
Yeah. If you were to explore it, I think it's like this, like, if you let somebody else win over you,
mhm.
you're now, like, they can use it against you, I guess, in the future. And I don't know if, like, that you're just scared of, someone, like, hurting you, and you can't say, like, hey, that hurt my feelings, or, like, maybe, I don't know.
I'm gonna hold my dog. Fuck, man. Hold on.
Kane, are you getting Garrus?
No. Keep talking. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So there's
go ahead. I think if there's like a PSA point to take from like this little segment, it's like winning isn't always everything, especially when it comes to arguments. But if you do have an emotion, there's an emotional side to it. It's important to express that too. Or you'll end up like a giant ball of anxiety like me.
Dude, I think the thing that was the most liberating thing was when I learned I could say the words, I feel hurt.
Yeah.
And that's just that. Instead of responding from a place of being hurt and saying things, just saying like, hey, that hurt, and then that's it. Leave it at that. That hurt my feelings. I don't like how that felt. And it can be something small. Like, if it doesn't always have to be like this, like big, like, oh, I can only say that if somebody says something really, really, it can be something small. Like, hey, you discounted my opinion and I didn't like how that felt.
It's Gracie.
Oh, hi, Gracie.
Oh, Gracie.
She's not thrilled about me holding her.
She does not look thrilled at all.
It's okay, baby. She's very heavy. Also, she weighs like 70 pounds now.
Oh,
she's
wow.
a very dense dog.
Wow.
It's all muscle.
Gabby weighs 15 pounds.
That must be nice.
It is very nice.
I would hold a dog if I had one.
You can get
some. You do have one.
I do have one. It's a long story. She's back in Washington. It's better for her.
Say hi, Gracie.
Say hi, Gracie. Gracie girl.
She can't hear you, Danny. I have headphones on. Gracie, look at the camera. Say hi. Say hi. What would you like to tell everyone? Nothing? The answer's nothing. I'm sorry. Okay, baby. I'll let you get down. She's like, unhand me. Oh, she's kicking the desk now. She's kicking the desk.
Unhand me.
You can lay down in here, though. Don't relax. You just gotta be quiet.
As far as like utilitarian things, like how to do stuff, my dad did.
Did your dad teach you a lot of stuff?
He taught me a lot. There was a lot of, and I always respected him for this. When he didn't know how to do something, there wasn't a lot of like, well, I'm the adult here, so I'm gonna pretend like I know what I'm doing.
Interesting.
We would learn stuff together, or like when there were things that I wanted to learn how to do, and he didn't know how to do it, he had no qualms about finding people who did, and just straight up being like, go with this person because they know how to do it and they will teach you.
So it's interesting. My dad is not an emotional person, but definitely he will tell you how he feels about stuff. And my mom is actually the one who's less open about her feelings sometimes. And I actually get that from her because my dad is just like, that's upsetting. I don't like that. Don't do that. He's very, very, he can be very forward about how he feels about things. And so that's very interesting. But like, I taught myself how to like cut down a tree, or I taught myself really how to change a tire, or I taught myself, like a lot of the skills that lots of dads teach their sons. And I don't think it's because my dad doesn't have those skills or doesn't care to share them with me. It just never occurred to him to teach those things, or the moment never arose where he was like, oh, I should teach you this. It's fascinating because my dad's dad was a carpenter. Uh, but I learned very little carpentry from my dad, who knows how to do things. He does. He just, for our young lives, he was working for most of that. And then as we got older, it just, you don't really hang out with your dad, when you're 15, 16, 17, 18. Some people don't. And that's just the way that it shook out. So, I would love to know how to work on cars, but that's not something my dad taught me, even though he knows a lot about working on cars.
I was forced to, because we did karate together.
See, that's fucking rad, dude.
So
he taught me how to throw a football. We used to throw a football all the time.
Yeah.
So,
but he was good in that way, man. Like me and my brother wanted to do karate, and he was like, "All right,
so he's
yeah,
like,
you can do
we're
karate.
all doing karate. Dude.
We're all doing
that's
karate.
Cool, man. That's fucking rad.
15 years later, we were still doing karate together.
You're a black belt now, right?
Second degree black belt. Yeah, I actually had the opportunity right after high school to go to Japan and train in Japan with my dad. For like
so all the ladies out there, just know he's a second degree black belt. He can protect you.
My favorite childhood movie is The Karate Kid.
Really?
Daniel? What did you think about the new Netflix reboot?
Cobra Kai? I fucking love it. I love it.
I have not heard bad things about it. I really haven't.
It's cheesy. It's corny. Mm-hmm. The fight scenes are ridiculous, and I love it for all of those reasons. Because just the throwbacks, they do a really good job of like the throwbacks and flashbacks to the original trilogy. Yeah, I actually like the fourth movie that they did with the chick. I can't remember her name. But interesting fact to get onto the useless base of knowledge that I have.
My favorite.
The master in there, Mr. Miyagi, is based off a real person, Chojin Miyagi, who is the creator of Goju-Ryu karate, which is the style of karate that I trained in. And that's why they named him Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, that's pretty badass, dude.
They do not do Goju-Ryu, however, in the movies. I believe they do Shorin-Ryu.
That's so fascinating. I mean, that's so cool, man.
When I was in Japan, I was training the dude. I was being trained by the dude that had been trained by one of Miyagi's original students.
Shit, bro. That's a big deal.
It's very cool.
That's like, it's very interesting, like people's connection to different sources of martial arts. Like you and I, Grizz, used to fight at a school or a gym, with a guru that learned from Dan Inosanto,
who my dad also trained with.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, who is like the father of Wing Chun, which is pretty much if you've ever seen Ip Man, he uses almost exclusively Wing Chun in all of his fights. But he learned or he taught Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee taught Dan Inosanto. So it's very cool stuff, man.
Yeah, those were good days. But we were doing Thai boxing together, and which you would handily, win those sparring rounds, and then we would gratefully move into combat submission wrestling.
Oh, that's fun.
CSW, my least favorite martial art.
I usually, took the wins.
The Grizz is very efficient on the ground. That's, I don't know what it is. He's so dense and like
surprisingly nimble.
Indeed. But yeah, is there anything else you wish your dads had taught you, or like anyone really, like things that you wish you had learned way back when?
How to age gracefully. Because my dad is still a handsome man with his bald head. Is still quite the ladies' man in his 60s when he wants to be.
Good for him.
He should taught me better how to talk to girls, because he does it effortlessly.
What about you, Snow?
I think I wasted a lot of time kind of like trying to follow like the route, that like I feel like I should have, like
You mean
when we
like
just
for society in general, or just like,
yeah.
like you have to be married by the time you're 23, and you have to buy a house by the time you're 25, and like, you should own 2 cars, and
Yeah. Well,
white picket fence and all that stuff, or
yeah. I feel like he never just said the words that like, hey, like what is it, you want to do? And
Mhm.
and that conversation could have, he just like I felt like everything I ever did, he was just like he's like, I believe in you, you can do whatever you want. But I was like,
Mhm.
okay, well,
But
I
there was no
mean,
structure given
there was no
there.
money behind it. He wasn't like, hey, I'll invest in your business. He wasn't like, hey, I'll pay for you to go to school. He was, not that he had it in
He was
per
just
se, but
saying the
it's like
word. He said the words. There was
he's
no
like,
action.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, what do I do with that information? And I know that every man has to find his own way in the world, but I feel like I
Every
wasted a
person,
lot of time.
non-gender,
True.
non-gender term. Every person has to
Uh,
find their own way.
yeah. I feel like I just, I was like, okay, well, I got to go to school,
Hmm.
and then I
Oh,
was
that's a
doing
big one.
school.
Go
Yeah.
to school. Everyone go to school.
Go to
Doesn't matter if
school.
you want to go to school or you think you should go to school, or if you know what you want to go to school for, just go to school.
Yeah. Honestly, I wish at like 18, instead of being like, well, I got to go join, get my associates, instead of going that route and then being like, well, I don't want to pay for my bachelor's, so I got to join the
Hmm.
military, because like that's a lot of the reasons why I joined the military was
With
because
school.
I, was
Yeah.
because well, I was like, oh, I got to get my bachelor's and I don't want to take all these loans out, so I'll go ahead and get a job, and you know what? While getting a good job, at the time I was 21, 22,
Yeah.
so I was like, I'll get my school paid for, which is could be sixty
It's
thousand
a
dollars,
win.
so
It's a
it's a
win.
win. And then when I got out, after 10 years, I was still like, well, I guess I got to go back to school. And then
Hmm.
I got there and I was like, this sucks. It sucks, And
Yeah, man.
so now I know what I know about myself. It really all I just needed was someone to be like, hey, you could do other things. You could be really successful, And I don't think there was a single person in my life that said the words to me like, do this instead, or like look at this alternative route. It was just like go to school and figure it out. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I
Right.
guess I'll go to school and figure it out. And I feel like I just wasted so many times bumping my head against that wall, when I could have just gone a different way.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get any direction. And I wish I would have been like, he just sat
So
down with me, and I
I
guess.
think to like quantify what you're saying, I think it's important for um those people that are around you that you look up to, or that are like, I mean, your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, whoever it is, adults in your life, to say, of course you can be whatever you want to be, but there are multiple routes to being happy in life, and
Mhm.
they don't all go through paying for school, or going to college. And obviously everyone should finish high school, right? I understand that there are extenuating circumstances that
Mhm.
prevent some people from finishing, but there's the GED, which is important. And I don't think that there's any way to get around not having a high school diploma. Not in a lot of senses. So definitely necessary. But after that, I think that it's very important that we express to young people that you don't have to go to college if you don't want to. You can go to trade school. You can get internships. You can start doing any number of things that don't require you to go to college necessarily. And it's important for people to know that that's not the only route in the world.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
you gotta find the route that best suits you.
yeah.
yeah,
Yep. If I would have done sales right out of high school and then bought property, on paper, anyways, if I didn't sell, I'd be a millionaire right now, just because I was in the Bay Area, and that's simple. Just did a job that I could make, $100,000 a year doing hustling and sales, and then, yeah, and then gone out and just bought fucking homes. Would have been fun, would have been super easy to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought to myself, like, well, the only way to get rich is to go to school. Or
Yeah, I think. Well, that the question is, what do you want out of life? If you want to be rich, there are avenues to doing that. It's not easy, and it's not as simple as I think a lot of rich people would like you or portray it to be. But it's possible, with the right background and the right work ethic. And you know what? I don't like the work ethic doesn't matter. I think a lot of it is putting yourself in the right place at the right time. Because you could work. I think there are a lot of people that work really, really fucking hard who are poor as shit.
Yeah, being rich has nothing to do with how hard you work. It has
Yeah.
to do with whatever skill set you have. How rare is it? Right.
Yeah, and how you market it, and how you.
Well, I mean, realistically, like it says, if there's a lot of people that can, work on roofs, then you're only going to make a certain amount of money because, a lot of people can do that job.
Right.
If everybody can make a sandwich, then you're gonna make minimum wage because everybody can make a sandwich.
Right. Yeah. There's no millionaire Subway sandwich artisans. So
no. I mean, how about this? If you were the only person though who could figure out how to put together a fucking, PB and J, whatever, you'd be
banking, dude.
Yeah,
banking.
And that's kind of like what I think. I wish. I don't know.
You wish that someone had told you.
Kind of more just more. I think I wish I needed like an adult mentor. Like you go through childhood and you figure out who you are.
It's hard, man.
You go through your teenage years, you're kind of going through the rough spot. But I think when I became an adult, I needed someone to be like just a little, like a push in a direction. Because I think I was just looking around. Like
you need a like-minded person.
I did, because I was like, I have no idea where to go next. I'm just gonna go fucking join the military. And then not waste, but basically not lose really. It was a 10-year path that I don't think I would have took had someone just said like, yo, like what do you want?
But I mean, it provided like the opportunity for some good things in your life.
Oh, dude, yeah. The first 3 or 4 years in the military was fucking so fun. So fun.
Yeah, it was, dude. Yeah.
So
Yes.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. It wasn't until I had responsibilities in the Navy that I started being like, boo.
This is terrible.
Pre-responsibilities? Oh, dude, just
absolutely.
Tell me.
Oh yeah.
So with that said, I think on a much lighter note, I think we can move to the easier than you think segment.
Sure.
Which is, I think today we'll cover something that I would hope that all dads or moms, whatever, would teach their children. And it's how to change a fucking tire. And I see lots of people sitting on the side of the road, and I get it, right? If you don't have a spare or a donut, that obviously that presents a bit of a problem, right? You can't change a tire if you don't have a spare tire. But it is not difficult to change a tire.
All right, let me ask you this question, guys.
Okay.
What is the point of a donut?
Are you asking the east side of Indiana in me, or are you asking the?
Yeah, because it is not a replacement for your current tire.
It is.
And I see that
literally
shit.
meant for like 20 to 40 miles.
And you're not even supposed to go that fast. I think you're supposed to go like 50 miles an hour on it max.
Last week in the fast lane
with the donut on
75, just
with the donut.
With a donut, bro.
Were they in a Nissan?
Melt.
They were in a Nissan.
Dude. Okay. I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but I shit you not. When I see a Nissan, I change lanes, man. Because if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that people in Nissans do not give a fuck about anybody else. That's why you see Nissans.
Because they're driving a fucking Nissan.
It's Nissans with fucked up bumpers, Nissans on donuts, Nissans with cracked windshields, Nissans without fucking like light, like turn signals, headlights, whatever, dude. I'm telling you right now, if you see somebody with a fucked up Nissan, get away from that person, because that person is going to change lanes, 3 lanes of traffic, and they don't give a fuck about you at all. They're gonna drive away from the crash scene. They're gonna drive away.
Themselves.
They are driving a Nissan. They don't even care about their own life, let alone yours.
Yeah,
No,
dude.
no.
Absolutely fucking not.
Do Nissans
Absolutely
have airbags? They probably don't have airbags.
Airbags.
I've
I
owned a
don't
car
know.
without airbags.
Oh wow, it's fucking raw dog in life.
Wait, was it that fucking S10
Yeah, it was that S10
that
I
you
bought off
bought?
those Russian dudes.
Those Russian guys, dude. That was sketchy. I'm gonna lie to you.
Classic.
They were like, yeah, no airbags because of the drugs that we
Yeah.
Oh, we lost Billy. Bye bye, Billy.
But back to like changing tires. I mean, there's a little bit more to changing a tire, I think, than some people think. Like it's not just pulling out the lug nuts and then, slapping a new tire on, especially with like
here's the
newer
thing.
cars being made
Step
out of
one.
like.
This is the rookie mistake that everyone makes. Is for one, well, I guess okay, stay with this. Step one, I'll just go ahead and knock it off. For anyone that might be listening who doesn't know how to fucking change a tire, and this might be really important to you, there are like 4 spots on your car.
That's huge, dude.
Yeah.
That are specifically designated for you to put your jack against so that it doesn't rip a hole through your floor.
Oh,
if you place that jack in any other location, it can damage the frame. It can go right through your floor. It can damage your anything else electronics wise. So you have to make sure when you get down, you'll see basically what looks like a spot for a jack to go, and that's where you're going to go ahead.
Wow, that looks exactly like where
Yeah.
a jack might go.
For those of you that are curious on where you should look, they are typically like 90% of the time on the inside portion of the tire, right? So if you're looking at your front tire, they'll be right in between that front tire and the passenger door. And it's the same with the back tire.
So the reason that this is important to me today, and I'm going to go through the steps of changing a tire for those of you that are taking notes. But I blew a tire last night in DC. So I was driving back from dinner with friends, which was phenomenal. I took a right turn.
Was that your double booking?
What's that? What?
Was that your double booking?
That was my double booking. That was my double booking. Honestly, 100% worth it. Cuban place. Oh, we'll talk about it later. But I took a double turn, and like there was a car next to me on the left, and they came a little close, so I moved a little farther to the right in the right turn, and I ended up clipping the curb, and I tore a hole in my tire. I tore a big ass hole in my tire, actually. And so on the DC streets, just past the White House, I pulled off on a side street and I changed my tire. And I didn't realize that there are very specific points for jacking my truck. So I actually jacked the truck up incorrectly the first time. So I jacked it, pulled the tire off, and then realized that I couldn't get the spare on. And so I had to put the blown tire back on, lower it, and then jack it again. So I don't want that to happen to anyone else. So I think that it's very important that if you're going to change a tire, step one, like Snowy B was saying, is make sure you know where your jacking points are on your vehicle. And they may be different for every vehicle, but oftentimes they are on the part of the car that will compress the spring for your vehicle. So that was the case with my truck. So the rear tire was blown, so I put it on the rear axle. There's a specific point on my rear axle where I slid the jack in and I started jacking it up, and it compressed the spring, allowing me to lift the truck, but also make sure that the tire hub was high enough that I could put the spare on. So definitely step one. Actually, you know what? Let's rewind. Precursor step. Make sure you're on even ground, because there's nothing more terrifying than a vehicle starting to roll while you are underneath it. So if you're ever gonna jack a vehicle up, make sure that you are on flat ground. It's wildly important to your health and safety.
Yep. So far, step one, find an even spot. If
Okay, I like
drive
it.
a little bit.
Let's say step 1, part A.
All right. So step two is what you're gonna do is you're gonna go and locate your stuff. So if you don't know where that stuff is, it's probably either you're gonna find a kit that's either going to be located with your tire, which is going to be in the back, underneath a board in the back of your car. Like if you have
in the boot.
In the boot.
Sorry,
it's like
the trunk for you,
basically
Americans.
Yeah. And so in the trunk, you're going to see like a little piece of cardboard, covered in felt. You just pull it right on up, and you'll see your spare. You'll probably see the materials you need, like what am I looking for here?
The jack and the
tire iron.
Tire iron.
Tire iron. Yep.
But like in my ProMaster, the tire iron and the jack is underneath the passenger seat. Right.
ProMaster.
It's the same way in my 2500.
That's also in my Ram 15. Is
Dodge.
It's under the seat. Yep.
Yeah.
Under the passenger seat.
But the thing is that you actually don't. We actually fucked up a little bit. You don't want to jack it up first. What you want to do is while it's on the ground, you want to take
those
tire
lug nuts, baby.
You got to loosen those lug nuts.
Loosen those lugs, baby.
What's going to happen is you're going to jack it up. You're going to go to put the tire iron on the lugs to break it, and the tire's going to fucking spin.
It's going to spin.
So you're going to lower it.
Get you every time, man.
Every time. So put the pressure on there, break the lugs. You don't have to take it all the way off. Just break the pressure and then jack it up. It should come off by hand. Pops right off. Donut goes on.
Okay.
Tighten
So let's summarize, right? So first step, find even ground. And really make sure that you're in a safe place. I know it can be difficult on the highway, but you want to pull as far over as you possibly can, because you're going to be under your car. You're going to be standing next to your car, and the last thing you want is to get clipped by somebody, right?
Yeah.
So we want to find a safe place. We want to find a flat place, which is very common on the highway, but maybe not so common on side roads or city roads. So you want to find somewhere as flat as possible. You want to make sure that you're placing, so you need to find your jack first. You might even need to find your spare, because some spares are mounted underneath vehicles. Usually, more often than not, you're looking at a truck when you're finding it mounted underneath.
Which in that case, it's not a donut; it's just your extra. So a fifth tire.
So you need to figure out how to lower that, if that be some kind of like system that requires you to lower it down, or whatever the case may be. So you want to make sure you get your spare out, and then you want to put your jack in at the jack point. You're gonna jack it up as high as you need it to go. You definitely want to give yourself some room to work, but prior to jacking, you want to make sure that loosen your lug nuts. Otherwise, you're gonna look like a fucking jackass trying to loosen lug nuts while your tire's up in the air. So now, once you loosen your lug nuts, you don't have to take them off. Loosen them up, jack your vehicle up, and then you can basically hand pull the lug nuts off, pull your tire off, put your spare on, tighten your lug nuts down. You can tighten them as tight as they'll go, and then you can lower it down and then tighten it on. You just want to make sure that your wheel is all the way on before you lower the vehicle down, because the last thing you want is a little fucking wobble in your new spare tire.
Let's talk about how you tighten up how do you tighten your new.
Take it away, Snowy. Take it away.
Well, Grizz, you probably know.
Yeah, so you're going to do it in how I learned as the star pattern.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So when you go to tighten your lug nuts, you're going, just pick one. It doesn't really matter. And you're going to work your way around the tire in opposites, kind of making a star pattern. Might not be a perfect star, but most cars only have 5. And you're going to tighten one, go to the opposite one, tighten it, draw a diagonal line like a star to another opposite one, tighten it, and work your way around the tire that way so that your tire gets tightened on evenly.
Because it's possible that instead of having your tire like this, you could tighten it like this, which will become an issue in the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
It'll mess up your alignment. It'll mess up your tire wear. You have to replace that tire sooner. And unless you're one of those dudes with excessive camber, which serves no purpose. It's not really the result you want.
You mean what is it? The North
The
Carolina
racers.
lean?
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm talking about the racers where their tires are like this, so they can
they're
get
like
that extra half
canted
inch
out.
lower.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's called camber.
lovely.
Yeah.
And for all you super new vehicle owners out there, make sure you have the key for your lock lug nut, because nothing will make you feel like an asshole like not being able to get your last lug nut off. So it's very important.
And if you don't know where these things are located in your car, you don't want to have to look for them in the moment. So it's probably best to locate it and not find out when you have a flat that the person that sold you the car forgot to tell you that there was no jack with it. Because I definitely have run into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so I learned how to put a tire on when I was real young, but you know what I didn't learn that it took me until I was a very old adult. Like I never had to actually deal with it yet, so I still technically don't know now. Is like, what do I do if somebody hits me in an accident? You know, like the exact steps. Like I could walk through my mind.
Ooh, you mean
How
so like an accident? Like
driving
what
down
do
the
you
road.
what do
Yeah,
you
like,
do?
yeah, like how do I respond in that relatively emotional situation, right?
Chris, do you have the steps one may follow for such
I
a situation?
feel attacked.
Okay,
Oh.
that's fair. I
If
was attacking you.
if you are in an accident, step one, if your car is still somewhat functioning, where you have the ability to get it off to the side of the road, definitely do that. There's a lot of accidents that happen where there was already an accident, and then the people are trying to deal with an accident, and then another car is late to react, and then becomes the third party to that accident. So if you are able
Three's a crowd.
to get off to the side of the road, do that. After that, make sure you're okay, your passengers are okay, and then that the occupants of the other vehicle are okay, whether or not you're at fault. And then after that, the important step is insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's so bad that you need to call 911 to get a police report, definitely do that. After that, it's super important to take pictures. Take pictures of the roadway condition, take pictures of your car, take pictures of the other person's car, because it will definitely help your insurance claim, especially if you are not at fault. After that, especially if the fire department, law enforcement's arrived, is to call your insurance as soon as possible with details of the accident. But yeah, those are the pertinent steps of what to do when you are in an accident.
Sure.
So
What if the person? So let's say, let me give you a scenario, right? So Grizz is driving down the road, stops at a stop sign. The other person does not stop at a stop sign. They hit you. You both pull over, and then that person gets confrontational with you, and they're like, "It's your fault," right?
at that point, as you just need to call law enforcement. Because here's the thing: the drivers themselves don't determine who's at fault, right? The insurance companies and law enforcement, depending on how they issue the ticket or whatever, will determine who's at fault.
What if the person, in this case, the reason why they're confrontational is because they don't have insurance?
Are you trying to solve one of your personal problems through the podcast?
No, this is. I think when you look at in a perfect world, you both have insurance.
So
you're both
that
not
depends. That
confrontational,
depends
like
on the state, right? So I mean, the outcome is going to depend on the state and the state's laws. If the other person doesn't have insurance, if you have a liability insurance, your insurance will cover your vehicle. I always opt for full coverage. I know that is not within everyone's price range, but if you can afford full coverage insurance, I highly recommend it. Depending on the state, if the other
there's no fault insurance, right, or no fault
yeah.
state.
Depending on the state, if the other person doesn't have insurance, some states it is automatically their fault. In other states,
bullshit.
Yeah, in other states it doesn't matter. A lot of insurances, if you have liability, only cover if you're liable, I think. So it is a tricky situation, but at that point, the other person doesn't have insurance, and that's why they're confrontational. It's best to get law enforcement or somebody out there to determine then who is at fault in the accident. And it is super important. I know a lot of people are driving the car that they drive, or using things that they use because of costs. But it's important to understand your insurance policy.
So let me ask you this though. So let's say, again, the scenario, right? I go through the stop sign. It's not my fault. I know it's not my fault. I get hit, right? And let's say in this case scenario, this person does have insurance though. When I call my insurance company, well, do I call my insurance company or do I call their insurance company? Because
no, you always call your insurance company.
Yeah, because what will happen?
Say, I was in an accident. I need to report an accident.
Mm-hmm. Well, so like, will my insurance company pay me or will their insurance company pay me?
Well, that is determined by the circumstances of the accident and whatever plan that you have.
Yeah. So if you have if you have one of the cheaper insurances like liability insurance or something like that, what will happen is if they are at fault, their insurance company will pay you. But your two insurance companies will talk, right? And if there's a police report, they'll review the police report and from there determine who is at fault. So for an example, I was at fault in an accident. I didn't T-bone, but I hit the rear panel of somebody coming through a stop sign, right? And so what happened is the other driver was waiting on my insurance company to pay him so he'd either get it repaired or buy a new vehicle. So if the other person is at fault, typically their insurance will pay. Depending on your insurance plan, your insurance may pay you and then collect the reimbursement from the other insurance company to offset their costs.
Nice.
So if they're at fault and they don't have insurance sometimes, and it sucks, but you're kind of out of luck. But depending on the state, you can then take them to court, which is why it's always important to get documentation of the accident. But you can then take them to court and pretty much sue them in small claims court.
Nice. Yeah. So do you have to pay out of pocket if your insurance? Let's say you get like the bare minimum insurance.
And you're gonna have to pay out of pocket.
You may end up paying,
and then having to, if they don't have insurance, taking them to small claims court to then collect.
Which there's no guarantee that you'll get that money because small claims court will put liens on people's. It orders them to pay a certain amount of money, but if they don't have that money to begin with, then it may be very difficult to get that money anyway. Up to the point of putting liens on people's checks or, any income they may be receiving or anything, something along that line.
What if the person's like, look, I don't want to go through insurance. I'll just give you, let's say it's my fault. I'll just give you $500 right now.
So legally speaking, we cannot tell you that is a good option. Right.
But it's illegal.
It is technically illegal.
If you want to handle it on your level, on like that level, and that's what you want to do, then fine. But if you get screwed over, then you have no way of pursuing other options at that point. And
so like let's say someone says, I'll just give you $500, and hopefully that covers everything, but it doesn't. Let's say that it doesn't. There's no recourse for you to get the rest of the money that you require to fix whatever is the problem, right? And then if your insurance company finds out that you had an accident and that you didn't report it, you could have an issue in terms of fraud on your hands. So it's really like, what are you willing to put up with?
Gotcha. Are you sure about fraud? Because I mean, if I don't report it, it's just up to me, right?
I'm not necessarily 100% sure if it's fraud, but it does give your insurance grounds to drop you as a customer and no longer insure you.
But the thing is, how do I find it? It's not even showing up.
Yeah. Oh, so I guess let's say the person gives me $500 and then I report it after the guy leaves, and I say, hey, it was a hit and run, and then I have my insurance take care of it that way. Like, is that okay?
That is insurance fraud.
Yeah.
What if I told him the guy gave me $500?
Well, then at that point,
And it's not a hit
is
and
it?
run.
Yeah. What if I told him, like, hey, the guy gave me $500, and then here's his information, but he doesn't have any money?
So we're getting to the area where none of us are lawyers or have law degrees. So at this point, anything is speculation, and it's kind
Okay.
of choose your own adventure and fuck around and find out.
Hold on. So under Maryland law, which is where I live, specifically Maryland Transportation 2010 TAC 107, you must provide written notice of an accident that involves bodily injury, death unless the crash has been investigated by a police officer and a report by the police officer has been filled with the Department of the State Police. So it looks like from this that the only time that you are required to report an accident is if bodily injury or death has occurred.
Yeah. Or the cops get involved. Yeah.
Yes. It's very interesting. Cool. I mean, it's a good question that you asked.
Why? It's perfectly okay if you have Andy's bucks, we'll call it a day.
Yeah,
like that's okay. As long as I wasn't hurt.
Typically what's going to happen is if you were in an accident and you didn't report it, and then your insurance finds out about it, like 90% of the insurance companies in the U.S. Will cancel your policy.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get a new policy, you're going to be paying at a higher rate, because when they look into your history, they're going to see that you didn't report an accident.
So it's really like it's a dealer's choice kind of deal with reporting accidents. First of all, I think it's important to know the laws in the state that you live in, right? So in Maryland, it's not required by law to report an accident unless it involves bodily harm or death. So, that's a route that I can follow. Your insurance may feel differently about that, but from a legal standpoint, you're not required, to report. So I think it's important to know. So like to sum it up, we've given you the steps you need to change a tire, which is important, I think, for all people to know, basic knowledge. And then know the laws in your area if you get in an accident. The first person you should call is probably not your insurance. Maybe somebody you trust. I don't know. But
like a good friend whose house you just left?
Yeah, maybe. So just be careful out there,
Sweet.
Be prepared.
Defensive drive.
Okay. Well, that was good. I like that talk. That was a good talk for easier than you think. Good tire change, very simple steps involved there. How about we talk about something good that's happened recently? Does anybody
what
have
is
anything
going on in the background right now?
I don't know. Are you in the kitchen?
My dog's drinking aggressively.
Is she mad because you picked her up? Jesus Christ.
Oh, this is Flora. Come here, Flora. Come here, baby.
Oh, we're gonna meet Flora?
Yeah, come here, Flora.
I wish I could pick up Garrus, but he weighs almost 100 pounds.
Significantly heavier than Gabby.
Oh, Flora's the bigger one?
Yeah, she's like 20
Gabby
pounds.
was the big one.
No, Flora's a big one. She was just drinking a bunch of water.
Yeah.
She is a sweetheart, though.
She looks cute, less chewy than the other one.
She's not a chewy girl. She's super sweet, very calm. Yeah. Yeah, she's a
she's a lover.
She's a lover. Loves a cuddle. Yeah.
Yeah, Gabby was like staring into the camera like, I hate it here. Oh boy.
We might have lost. Oh no, he's back.
Oh, he's there.
I'm back.
We're amateurs.
Right,
we're rank amateurs. So.
This is Victor. Here, Victor. Meet Victor.
Oh yes, let's meet Victor. Oh,
no, he's significant.
He's so much bigger.
He's a sweet boy.
He's so sweet.
He's a very sweet boy.
Adorable.
He is. He's a very sweet boy until he gets scared, but he's gotten a lot better on that.
That's good.
Yeah.
He looks like Gracie.
He does look like Gracie. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna show you my other dog because he weighs 95 pounds and he's a literal wrecking ball. So
Old Garrus.
Yeah. So for for the people, a feel good news story. What do we got today for the people?
Yeah, so there was a new development in renewable energy
Ooh, I love that. I
in
am
nuclear
top
fusion.
notch recycler, so let me know more.
And basically, one of the biggest problems why we don't use like nuclear fusion a lot is so it is contained in what is known as a fuel cell, right? It's a solid state.
Mhm.
And in order to get a reaction out of it, what's in there? Read up a little bit on like hydrogen fuel cells as a potential for cars as well.
Okay.
But it takes energy, right? You have to put energy in to get energy out. And
Right.
the problem that we've had for a real long time is the energy you get out is less than the energy that you are putting into it, which is
Okay.
why it's not been a viable option. So the
Okay.
breakthrough that they've had within the past couple months is for the first time when we put energy in, we got more energy out. So we were able
Okay.
to create
So
energy.
it is a viable energy source at this point, probably sometime in the future. But
It's definitely going to
It's in
take
the future.
more research
yeah.
and
It's
development.
It's not scalable yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's not-
we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah,
is the
it's
Well,
not.
point,
it's huge because they proved what they always believed.
Yeah, they
Right.
basically proved their theory correct that this was something that was possible,
Yeah.
Okay.
which is exciting. So it was on a very small scale. The energy coefficient they got out of it was very small. It's not like they put in 1 kilowatt and got 1,000 kilowatts out or anything like that. Like
Right.
it was very minuscule. But the important thing was that for the first time they were able to get more energy out in a way that can be replicated, so more and more people can study it and
Right.
potentially make the
create
process even more efficient.
limitless energy.
Yeah, so in a lot of these areas where we're still relying on coal and natural gas and stuff like that, in the future, this is something that we could potentially move to. And
Right.
more
Cool.
importantly, I believe it's supposed to create a lot less waste.
Well, it creates so the byproduct can't be turned into a dirty bomb, right?
Yeah.
Which is huge,
Right,
right?
which is
So you're
the
not
big
gonna
problem with current nuclear energy is that
that leftover waste is
there's a
dangerous.
waste to. So just so we're clear, nuclear energy is very safe, far safer than oftentimes we are led to believe with usually fictional portrayals of nuclear energy. And obviously, yes, we've seen nuclear meltdowns like Chernobyl or what is the plant in Japan?
Fukushima.
Fukushima. Yes, it is not as though there is no danger with this, but as a whole, nuclear energy is extremely safe.
Compared to coal, like if you look at
Yeah.
how many deaths they could directly attribute to living around a coal plant,
Yeah,
versus just what
a nuclear energy plant. Yeah.
it's not even close.
So nuclear energy is fairly safe, but the thing about the most recent test is that now we are moving into hopefully an era of nuclear fusion, not to be
fission.
confused with fission.
Right.
Nuclear fusion that is creating energy as opposed to a basically 0 = 0 sum.
Yeah.
And to make
And
this
so
good.
yeah, so for people that might like have a hard time understanding like what the difference is, basically this is, like I said, taking a fuel cell, you're putting energy into it, in this case a laser, right? And then the energy that's being produced out of it is for the first time increased. The way most nuclear power plants work, right, is you have something like a uranium rod,
Mm-hmm.
and it creates heat, right, through radiation. And what you do is, while it's in its enclosed case creating heat, is you run water across that. It heats up that water. Then that heated water / steam is then sent to drive turbines. So for
Right,
anybody
and
that
most
wasn't
people
aware
have
of it,
seen that actually, and not
Yeah.
even realized that you've seen
So-
a nuclear reactor before.
yeah, all
It
those
looks like
big
a pool.
clouds coming up is steam. Basically, the entirety of human electricity production has just been overcomplicated tea kettles. So this doesn't use that. It's like a fuel cell, like when you put a battery into like a very, very layman way of understanding it, because none of us are scientists, but is putting a battery into something.
I'm
and
a fucking scientist. Fuck you.
So, yeah, it's like you're saying, it creates like there's no uranium rod that then depletes and isn't usable anymore. So then you have to store it, but then it still is creating radiation, right? So it
and this is so much more important because we are quickly going from gas burning vehicles to electric vehicles. Those electric vehicles are charged off the grid. The grid is powered by fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels.
Right.
Which is the huge conundrum with electric vehicles,
really
right?
Getting rid of fossil fuels. You're just really moving it from one source to another.
Right.
And there's arguments to be made that the extraction of lithium, when you factor in the extraction of lithium and the fact that we still use fossil fuels, is actually worse for the environment.
Well, the extraction of lithium is extremely detrimental to environments. Not just the extraction, but the waste that is created when creating batteries.
Lots of blowing up, don't they? Like blow up mountains and shit.
So there is explosives used to create fissures in the ground. And then what you do is you take water and you forcefully pump it into the ground and then back up. And when it comes back up, it brings up lithium and other materials with it. They then sit in these giant pools and you let the water evaporate. And then what's left over is all those minerals. And then from there, you like sift out the lithium. And that's how you mine lithium. The thing with a lot of lithium, like one of the big mines in South America, I can't remember what country it's in. I want to say Venezuela, but I don't know if that's true. Is the deposits happen to be in places where there aren't a lot of water. So they are having to divert water from like rivers and stuff in more tropical areas of those countries to these lithium mines.
Right. So that they can mine lithium the way that we know how to mine lithium.
Not only is it super damaging to the ecological system of where the lithium actually is, but it can also be potentially damaging to other ecological environments because you have to rob them of large amounts of water. And then it's not like you're just sending it back into the river. It's evaporating.
Right. So the question is, how viable is it? So to create a nuclear reaction or to use nuclear energy, right now we use nuclear rods, right?
Right now, it's with this new experiment, it's still not viable. So they put in 2.05 megajoules of energy, and that resulted in 3.15 megajoules of fusion energy output.
Right.
So it's not enough, right, on a large scale.
But potentially it is the step that we need in the direction to eliminate the use of fossil fuels, which is detrimental on a level that is I mean it is destructive, not just in gaining those, not just for the areas that hold those fossil fuels, but potentially areas surrounding. I mean, if you're talking about diverting waterways and destroying whole mountainsides just to get copper or lithium or cobalt, you are destroying whole ecosystems.
Right. The difference is they're happening in poor countries. Right.
So
this is I'm super pro oil. I love it. I think it's the best thing that we could possibly do today. But the reason for that is because oil's here. We have the biggest oil in America. We're in America. So we have the biggest oil.
We are in America.
In the world exists right here. The problem is that whenever there are oil spills, which there will be oil spills, it happens in our backyard, right? And the people that are suffering from that and the ecological suffering from that is literally a giant CNN camera away from being like, look at what oil's doing, right? So when people are driving and they're feeling good about driving their Teslas, which, I mean, I want to buy a Tesla, so I'm not a Tesla. But when they're buying their Teslas and they're feeling good about it, they're not realizing you're just destroying a third world country's ecological habitat, and you're not actually contributing to even a better ozone, right? The idea that like, oh, well, this is gonna help the ozone out, is a falsehood. And let me give you a little more insight to that. If you want to get all the parts from an electric vehicle made, they come from all over the world, right? Globalization is a real thing, but for electric vehicles, very few things are all made in one spot. So to get all those things here, as opposed to making like a pretty basic V6 engine, which we make in the United States all the time, using some pretty basic components, you have to ship all these things. The shipping of that is so carbon tax or so carbon heavy that they project it'll take you driving an electric vehicle 20 some. Hey, settle down.
What is your dog?
Dude, they are just like right now.
I'm
so-
sorry. I was trying so hard to listen to you, but all I could hear was your dog in the background.
Dude, Victor's just like, are you thirsty, bro? Like, where's your mom at? Go find her.
Yeah. So
yeah.
looking it up, right? The biggest contributor of greenhouse gas emissions right now are it's electricity and heat, followed by agriculture and then transportation,
Right.
and then manufacturing. So
But the thing is, transportation though, that we think of it like our cars, and I might have. I think I said this on the-
It's not just your cars though. It's
Yeah,
semi trucks taking parts places. It's buses.
Ships,
it's trains.
planes.
It's ships.
It's
Ships are
ships.
like the number one contributor
So
to.
the number one.
one of the things I want to hit on here, right, is electricity and heat. And why it's not just from our electric grid, right? A lot of places, especially Europe, use natural gas for heating. A lot of places in the U.S. use natural gas for heating. So this new like nuclear fusion technology in those countries could potentially like replace the need to rely on natural gases and stuff like that. As far as cars and stuff like that, right now, like I agree, there's not like electric cars aren't actually helping, but at the same time, the more and more we use technology, there's the potential the more and more we can develop it to where it does get on that like greener side of things.
Yeah.
So-
I think, okay, so I'll add one more caveat to that. I think if America were to say, drill, baby, drill, like if you went hardcore, that mentality,
Mhm.
I think it would be enough to effectively become the major supplier of oil to the rest of the world. And I would say, depending on how big our reserves are, we should be like, look, Europe, don't trip about Russia cutting off the valves. We got you, baby. Like we gotta have a surplus, so we can provide stability. to the
America's not
world.
drilling because oil companies don't want to drill.
I mean, it's not profitable, right?
Yeah. There are multiple.
You don't want to have too
sites.
much oil.
Yeah, there are multiple sites that
Right.
in the U.S. that oil companies own, where they haven't even broken on. They haven't even started the process of like breaking ground or like even setting up, like surveying it.
We should just drill it ourselves.
Yeah.
We could, right? We could. They've talked about that.
The three of
Nationalizing.
us. No. The three of us should
yeah.
go drill oil ourselves.
I mean, it's very
Fuck it.
expensive, and I understand why they wanted the free market to take care of it. But the free market is working against our best interest because if they overflood the market, the price will go down. So it doesn't
Yeah,
behoove
they don't
them.
want the price to go down because
Right.
it's not
So-
about helping people or it's not
I
making
think-
sure that you have enough. It's
I
about
think
making
America
money.
should nationalize the oil industry. Like, I mean, and it's not to say like Russia, but like that's what Russia did. Like, hey, we run the oil company, we turn off the tap, we turn it back on, and that gives us a lot of power. We don't have any of that power because we left it in the hands of the free market, and the free market's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
So
That and railroads. We should nationalize railroads, but that's around
Capitalism, baby.
I agree with that too. I think the transportation system be nationalized for the benefit of Americans and the world in general. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I mean,
thought.
I definitely don't disagree with that. But
So
just so we're clear, the feel good part of this, the good news part of this is that we as human beings, not just we as Americans, but we as human beings have basically we have for the first time actually created fission ignition, which is the fusion reaction produces more energy than is being put into to making the reaction. So hopefully it is really one of our best steps in the last decade towards self-sustaining energy. So huge stuff, really great. there's definitely a conversation to be had about um, the viability, or not the viability. There's a huge conversation to be had about what it is that you're contributing by driving an electric vehicle, or by reducing your, as a person, the individual, by reducing your carbon footprint. What does that change? And that's definitely a conversation that we can definitely jump into at some point in the future, because the conversation is there. Um, Buying my Tesla, am I saving the environment? The immediate answer is absolutely not. um, but there is more nuance to the conversation. I think that that definitely lends itself to being a very in-depth and fun, hopefully, conversation.
Sorry, Greta Thunberg. Don't hate me. Don't amputate me.
Dude, she's gonna amputate you. Yeah.
Don't order pizza. Don't order
before we
pizza.
wrap
Danny.
up, I think that was probably one of the top moments that occurred towards the end of the year, or I guess the beginning of the year. I'm not really sure.
It was the end of the year is when it happened.
It was the
This
end
is
of the
still
year,
December,
but I think that was just, I don't really care a whole lot, but it was just so funny. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
good luck in Romanian prison, Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Greta Thunberg.
doing the Lord's work.
I also wish you the best.
Yeah.
I have no ill will towards you. So I think that's a very fun way to wrap up the year. Andrew Tate going to Romanian prison.
We really needed that win.
Jail.
All right,
yeah.
let's wrap this bad boy up. What's the last thing you want to talk about?
Really, I mean, I think we hit it hard today. I think this is a good episode. I think possibly last episode was probably our best episode, but this is definitely a contender.
Yeah,
for best episode.
We're starting off this new year correct, right?
Yes,
and strong.
Yes.
And for those of you that may not know, the Barely Coherent podcast is now listened to worldwide. So,
Yep, we have a listener, one, maybe three, I don't know, in Belgium.
Yeah, and definitely one in Australia. So jump on the trend while it's still hot. And
before we get big, you
Yeah.
want to be you want to be involved before
you could
then.
Be like, I was there before they were cool.
Yeah. So, is there anything you guys are excited about for this new year?
Yes, I am.
Snowy, tell us what you're pumped about, dude.
Pumped. So, okay, one of the things that I learned, very few things actually, I learned in the military was how life-changing a deployment could be if you're productive during it. Right? If you're productive during a deployment, a 6-month deployment, you can come back and have whatever slump you were in can be completely erased because you were not spending money typically. If you're productive, if you want to, obviously, but if you were like, hey, I'm going to work out, I'm going to focus on doing product, I'm going to work, I'm going to save money, and when I come back to the real world, I'm going to have money in my bank, I'm going to have a healthy body, I'm going to have a calm mind, and I'm going to be able to attack life going forward. So I had learned, that
never happened for me, but I like that.
And I did it twice, right? And each time I learned a little bit more. So 2023 is effectively going to be what I think I call like a deployment, in essence, and that I am going to do my very best to save as much money as possible, and then to work on my mental and physical health without feeling like, oh, I have to go do something to mix it up. I'm just going to be just laser focused on that. So throughout the course of the year, I can make so much progress that in 2024, I could take all the bad habits that I've been picking up over the last 5 years as I got into my 30s. I could take all the debt that I've accrued over my many business decisions that has been, different varying degrees of success. And I could just erase all that, be healthy, be strong, be mentally ready. And I'm excited to go into 2024 a healthier, stronger person.
Okay. I like that. That's a very forward thinking, positive way to attack the year. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got, Grizz?
Honestly, it's kind of along the same vein. So I know I've talked to you guys about it outside the podcast, but in the past couple months, I've started taking a lot of steps for self-care and taking care of myself. And it's all starting to kind of kick off a lot of different appointments, different things going on. And so I think for the first time in a long time, I feel pretty optimistic and stoked about like the year to come.
Good.
And yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that. I'm pretty same thing. Like a lot of this year is going to be focused on getting myself into a healthier place, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I know it's a lot of people do New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, but I think this is the first time where I've gone into a new year wanting to accomplish something and having actually taken steps and having a real plan with real help to achieve a lot of those steps. So little things like I just went and spoke to a nutritionist, not kind of going in alone type of stuff, really, actually, not just like waking up and being like, oh, I'm going to the gym to get healthy. Like I have actual plans in place there's nothing wrong with seeking help to achieve your goals. And this is the first time I think I've done that. So
good job, man.
Good shit, man. Love that. I guess I'll finish out.
I would love it if Billy was like, my plan is to get worse this year, so I'm gonna just take the opposite direction. I'm on drugs.
I'm not doing things
really
for good.
Go
I'm doing
against the grind
evil.
here.
Yeah.
I've entered my villain phase.
Adopted children, yeah.
I adopted children. So I think really an important part of this conversation today was things that I wished I had learned. And with that, I will become a father this year. And I just want to make sure that I am in a good position and a healthy position to pass on really good things to my son. And so that has kind of I'm planning on manifesting that in a way that allows me to learn all the skills that I've wanted to learn or things that I've put on the back burner for years, being in the Navy, to really be able to lean into those things that I've wanted to learn, those things that I wanted to do, so that I can pass those skills on and pass on the joy of life, to someone else. So I have a lot of big things happening this year. New job, gonna be a parent, major move. And so I'm really looking forward to those big challenges, but also, the other little challenges that are associated with that. So, with all that said, I think for the first time in a long time, I'm really looking forward to the start of the year and really just getting into it. So, I got this podcast with you guys that we get to do, hopefully twice a month at some point here. I think, we'll see, but I think really focusing on the good things to come is a good feeling, and it's something that I haven't had in a long time, and it sounds like it's something that maybe the rest of us haven't had in a long time. So
I'm excited, boys.
With all that said, I think we're gonna wrap up this episode. I think this is a really, really good one. I really enjoyed the Easy Lean Think segment. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump into the Discord, and our tire changing experts would be happy to go over some things with you. If you have any questions or you just want to be involved, please, by all means, hit us up on socials. Instagram, Discord, hopefully TikTok in the future, like I've said. We'd be happy to hang out with you guys.
We will send you pictures of our feet. Just throwing that out there in case anybody.
I'm not going to say no to $10 free. You know what I'm saying?
But hairs,
you may not be thrilled with my feet pics. So whatever.
Get all paint those nails, baby. I'm ready.
So with that said, I think we're gonna call it a good night.
Mhm.
Thanks, barely coherent fam, and we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.